The SSI Restoration Act. Did they pass it, and where did it go? That's a great question, and exactly what we're going to focus on right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now in this video, we're specifically talking about the SSI Restoration Act, which is a pretty nice piece of legislation that would impact about 8 million SSI beneficiaries in a really good way. So let's get into it and talk about, did they actually pass this? Where did it go? And where do we currently stand? Great questions. Let's get right into it. However, really fast before we do, thanks so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe right down below the video. It's totally free to do so, and I'm here for you, right by your side each and every day, watching the latest details hitting the wire, doing the research and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay posted on what's actually going on, and anything popping up right now you can possibly grab and or take advantage of. So again, thanks so much for being here. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and I'll be here for you every single day, no matter what. That's my promise, and as always, I'm sticking to it. All right, let's get into it and talk about the SSI Restoration Act, which would reform SSI in a major way for millions upon millions of beneficiaries. It would boost benefits as well as a bunch of other great provisions within there. Where did this actually go? Now, recently I had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, you haven't talked about the SSI Restoration Act in a while. Did they finally pass this thing? What is going on with it? Can you give us an update? So again, thank you so much for the question. I appreciate it. Yeah, you're right. I have not talked about this in a very long time. Why? Well, the details are because no, they didn't actually pass it yet. However, let me talk about the details of this because it's not exactly totally gone. Now, let me break that down for you because it's kind of interesting how they're doing this. Now, this is actually from a couple years ago. So a few years ago, they came up with this piece of legislation, the SSI Restoration Act, which is specifically for SSI, Supplemental Security Income. This has nothing to do with Social Security retirement, Social Security disability, survivors, spousal benefits, VA, or other low-income benefits. It's just for SSI. Now remember this much as well. SSI is a very important program. There's about 8 million beneficiaries who receive checks from the SSI program every single month, and this program was started way back in 1972. How many times has this program been reformed since then? The answer is virtually none. Okay, well, as a result of that, we have this great piece of legislation, which is, like I said, the SSI Restoration Act. Let me break down the details of this because there's a few key provisions within it that are really good. In fact, I would say this is one of the best pieces of legislation that are out there to reform a fixed income benefit program, okay? We've seen all the different pieces of legislation out there. We've seen all the proposals popping up about reforming Social Security and changing retirement benefits and fixing SSDI and all kinds of things like this. But realistically, those are decent, but I would say this one, the SSI Restoration Act, is actually a really good piece of legislation. However, even though it has not been passed yet, let me talk through some of the provisions really quickly, and then I want to talk about what they're actually doing about this, because they're actually doing something very interesting about it. So first off, this is one where they want to increase benefits up to the federal poverty line. Not bad. That would give beneficiaries a boost of over $300 a month as of right now on average for the maximum benefit. So again, that'd be huge alone. That's just one of the provisions. Next, they also have within there to remove the marriage penalty. Next, also increase the asset levels for beneficiaries from $2,000 as an individual up to $10,000, and from $3,000 as a married couple up to $20,000 that you could have in your possession without having any negative impacts to your monthly benefit. So those are just some of the provisions. There's a lot more in there as well, but those are some of the main ones that a lot of us have been watching closely. Now, here's what's interesting about this. Even though the big SSI Restoration Act, including all of these provisions, has not been passed, here's what they're doing. They're going through this and they are cherry picking out some of the key some of the key provisions within this thing, like what I just talked about there, and they're packaging these up into their own little standalone bills. So that's what's interesting about it. And again, not so bad. Now here's the thing. It'd be a lot better if they just actually passed the entire thing as one full package and did all of the reform to SSI in one basically swoop, right? They come right in, they pass the SSI Restoration Act, and boom, all beneficiaries are changed in a major way. Benefits are lifted, the marriage penalty is removed, the asset levels are increased, and a whole variety of other changes that they want to do. But rather than doing that, just like Congress likes to do, rather than taking the easy way, they like to, toy around with things. They like to poke around, and they like to fix things that aren't broken. As a result of that, What I mean is the SSI Restoration Act is the perfect solution, but rather than moving forward with just the perfect solution, they decided, let's go forward and let's cherry pick out different provisions within here. So there are literally standalone bills to remove the marriage penalty. There's another standalone bill to actually increase asset levels for beneficiaries. We've heard from lawmakers who have talked about increasing benefits up to the federal poverty line. So again, rather than just getting all this done as one piece of legislation, they're deciding, hey guys, let's gather around. Let's write it all up as its own standalone bill. Now here's the thing. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they got it done. But have they done that either? They haven't done that either. So, long story short is, even though they have the SSI Restoration Act, it sure would be nice if it passed. It would impact about 8 million people instantly in a huge, huge way. It would help out a lot of beneficiaries in a major way, boosting benefits and all kinds of things like that. But unfortunately, they have not passed it. It is one of these pieces of legislation, just like all of the other hundreds and hundreds of pieces of legislation that we've seen here over the last couple of years, where they come out, they introduce it, it gets exciting. We all get excited and think, wow, the possibilities. This would be so great. It would be life-changing. It would help us out in such a great way. And then sure enough, it disappears after a while. They talk about it, they get a bunch of hype, they rally all around, they get everybody excited, and then they just kind of act like nothing happened, right? They add it into the pile of different bills that they say, oh, we'll come back and revisit this someday. Well, okay, when is that someday ever going to happen, right? As I like to say sometimes, living in the land of the someday. I'm sorry, but someday never comes, okay? If everybody is walking around saying, well, someday we'll do that, someday, someday. Well, let's identify a day, because guess what? If you keep saying someday, someday never arrives, okay? I think we all probably recognize that, right? So anyway, this is where we currently stand on this, which is, no, they have not passed it. And where did it go? Well, unfortunately, it ended up in this pile of a bunch of bills, a bunch of legislation that unfortunately may be looked at someday in the future. Along with all of these cherry-picked bills out of this one, like I said a minute ago, which is they took the SSI Restoration Act, they laid it all out, they started to dissect this thing, right? They took out their little tweezers and they started pulling out little pieces of it, and they said, okay, let's have a standalone bill here that covers increasing asset levels. Let's cherry pick out this little piece here that removes the marriage penalty. Oh, let's pick out this little piece over here that also increases benefits up to the federal poverty line, and all the other things that they did with this. And all of those little standalones, they didn't do anything there either. So as we sit here, right now, what has happened to SSI? The simple answer is nothing. Literally nothing. The only changes that have happened to SSI is the COLA raises. The COLA raises, that's it. The cost of living adjustment every single year to benefits for about 70+ million people who receive benefits under the Social Security umbrella is basically what it comes down to. Even though SSI is not Social Security, it still falls within the Social Security umbrella because it's a fixed income benefit program administered by the Social Security Administration. Therefore, it also qualifies for the annual COLA, cost of living adjustment. So anyway, that's where we currently stand. So for the questions that have been coming in asking, what's going on with the SSI Restoration Act? Great question. I wish I had more to tell you about it. Who knows? Maybe some lawmaker, somebody of influence, maybe somebody will see this video and they'll think, hey, why don't we pull it on out? Why don't we blow the inch of dust off of it and maybe we should start working on it again? Hey, that's a great idea. Maybe they should do that. So who knows? Again, why it's also important to keep coming forward with these updated videos like this and talking about things like this, because here's the thing, you never know who's going to stumble across this video, maybe like a lawmaker, maybe somebody of influence like that, who can dig this thing up and say, maybe we should talk about it again, maybe we should revisit this, maybe we should reform SSI. Great ideas. Maybe you should. Maybe you should do something like that, right? I think we'd all probably agree, maybe Congress should do something. Well, there you go. This is where we currently stand on this. And again, I think it's very important not only to continue talking about things like this, but also bringing up things like stimulus checks and raises to benefits and adjusting benefits to the federal poverty line and doing things for fixed income beneficiaries, because if we never talk about it, we know how Congress acts, right? Well, hey, they're not talking about it. They're not bringing it up. That means they're probably fine. No, just because we're not talking about something for a minute doesn't mean that everybody's fine, right? That's not how it works, okay? Anyway, why I also think it's very important to continue talking about these topics, because we need to continue bringing them up. We need to continue reminding Congress we're thinking about it, we're remembering these things, and it's very important for fixed income beneficiaries. Anyway, want to give you a quick update on this. This is where we're at. Of course, I'll keep you posted as I get more details. So again, please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. There's a lot going on right now. Super busy time, like always. And as I get more details on anything, of course, I'll be right here for you, breaking it all down. So please subscribe down below, share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, enjoy your day, take care, have a good one, and catch you again later in the